The St Kilda Football Club had a very good day against Richmond on Sunday, but last Friday, to be brutal, was a communications debacle. It all revolved around the club's decision to have a look at the recruiting potential of the AFL's most out-of-favour player, Tarryn Thomas. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, look, I'm really here to talk about the weekend's game. The club, to be fair, is releasing a statement. I'm a servant of the club, and that's the exact instruction that I've been asked to execute on and that I'll adhere to.
Following a course of due diligence, I can confirm that St Kilda will not be pursuing Tarryn Thomas.
So first came Ross Lyon's awkward press conference, and then came CEO Carl Delina's public statement that the club was washing its hands of Thomas, the troubled recidivist. That was in the wrong order. And to my mind, the club's recruiting guru, Graham Allen, was hung out to dry. Sure, it was dumb to have lunch with Thomas and his mentor Robbie Armat in a Lygon Street pass to joint, but every off-field leader at the club, from the president, the CEO, the footy boss and the coach, knew and approved the Thomas tyre kick. And, to my mind, so was Ross Lyon. Why put him out in public before the club statement? He was made to look foolish and the club in panic mode. Both Ross Lyon and Graham Allen are big boys. They're seasoned campaigners, but they have every right to be disappointed in a club that frankly failed to show leadership and instead went to water. So one on-field leader the club failed to notify about the move was Hannah Priest, the club's AFLW captain. And my understanding is that Hannah and several of her teammates were very upset about this decision and made their thoughts quite clear to the club. So quite apart from some supporters and members who got involved and sponsors, it was the women of the club too who were very unhappy about it. But I just can't understand why you would point it all on Graham Allen and then put the coach out when you've made the decision and you're still getting in touch with people to tell them about it.
They panicked to the reaction, didn't they?
Completely.
And they hadn't done the courteous thing, which was get everyone involved in at least the conversation. Everyone,
the board and the CEO knew.
So it's not unreasonable to go and meet with Tarryn Thomas to understand where he is in any attempt to rehabilitate himself in the years ahead. It might be 2 years before he is ready to play AFL, if ever again.
Do you think Ross Lyon should have said, we met with him, we're not saying we're going to draft him, and that's what we did, and that would have helped?
I think Ross felt, I don't know what Ross thought, but you felt from watching that press conference that it's not his call to make, it's the club's call to make, and they should have made the call before he did the press conference. The other thing I want to say is it's going to be difficult for the AFL to make a call on this because I don't think Tarryn Thomas is looking at jail time. That's not my understanding. So say he's allowed to play VFL next year, Matthew, and because St Kilda had heard that he was rehabilitating himself, apparently he's found religion and they thought he was doing better. I'm not sure what they think now.
It's going to be a long road for him. But
I think Mason Wood's angry. I don't think he made the comments that he's been reported to have made.
Can you ever see a time that he plays another game of AFL football?
Yeah, I think down the track...
How many years do you think?
It might be... Look, he's got a long road ahead of him to even remotely get any clemency or forgiveness for his sins. But we are a redeeming society, but it's a long road ahead for that. And you don't just wake up one day and go, I wonder how he's feeling today and we'll recruit him. The recruiting of a player can take 3-4 years. So I think they were entitled to have the meeting to check for themselves. It doesn't mean anything. And they just need to own it when they did. So, we met with him. We'd be more about it if we didn't. But, he's not on our radar.
On-field, Hutchie. Damning comments for the Richmond Football Club, Caro, with Ross Lyon, with the way he described this game against the Tigers.
They take the win and move on, really, I would think. Play a really good team. Next week in Geelong, they're a young, developing team. Bit of a unique game, I would think. I don't know what it looked like. It was like a bit of circle work, I think. So, look, Geelong won't let us play circle work next week, I wouldn't have thought.
144 marks the Saints took and
lowest tackles ever.
And you look at some of you look at the Richmond midfield and line it up against the St Kilda midfield. They're not exactly underdogs at Richmond midfield.
Particularly when you've invested so heavily
they've been an appalling season.
In that midfield, Caro.
Very quickly, who will be Richmond's boss?
Look, I think the decision will be made in the coming week or maybe weeks. It's down to 2. I think there was about 5 or 6 interviewed, and I still think that Simon Matthews, the internal candidate, is the favourite, Craig.
It's time for the
That's my belief.
Elephant in the room.
Hutchie, the elephant in the room tonight is Tom Hawkins, superstar player, 359 games, 796 goals. He's a Hall of Famer, straight in when he's eligible. But the elephant in the room is if he gets through training over the next month and he becomes available for selection, what Chris Scott does, because I don't think he can play him. His form was off for nearly 2 months and then he goes down and the side has performed really, really well since he's gone out. I think Shannon Neal deserves his spot ahead of him, a match fit Shannon Neal. And I also think Jeremy Cameron was playing up on a wing and high half forward. He's better out of the goal square. So I just don't see how they can bring back Tom Hawkins, and what a tough decision that will be, and a hard decision for him to look him in the eye and say, I'm sorry, Tom, but we cannot play you.
It sounds like they're going to give him a look at him against the West Coast in what they hope will be a live kill in round 24, or around the last round. Do you think that will affect the decision to make it harder if he plays, or do you need to have a look at him?
I just think, in my personal opinion, if I was Chris Scott, I'd be hoping he doesn't get up to play one game. Obviously, do you give him a farewell? Does that mess up with your
I don't know if
system?
you need to. I mean, he's had a lot of milestone games. He's been celebrated. He's broken the record and all of that. So I think you just have the conversation with him now. You say, look, Tom, if you're fit, you're probably not in our best side right now. This is the mix that we've gone for. This is the mix that we're working with. Not to say that if we get an injury, it's not going to be great to have you as a backup. So get yourself as fit as you possibly can. Happened to Nathan Jones. Not that he's the calibre of Tom Hawkins in that premiership year at Melbourne. It's happened to great players before that just unfortunately the timing doesn't add up. But right now, I don't think Tom would be surprised if he's left out of that side.